Hello everyone, welcome back. So I'm back at work this week unfortunately, so the progress hasn't been as fluent as it has been the last couple of weeks, but we've made some progress all the same. Had some really interesting information come through in regard to FTR3, which has yielded an exciting result. Some of the information we've had from day one's been conflicting, and there's been little bits of information where I guess it raises some questions about the car's legitimacy and what parts are original and what aren't. And there were some numbers that were said to be on the car that were completely missing, and that would, I guess, put a lot of the not conspiracies but the doubt to bed as to what this car is. So we'll share all that with you now. And there's also been some fabrication work that's been completed on FTR3, which I'll bring you up to speed on. Now, as you're watching it, just keep in mind, I'm not a fabricator, I'm not a panel beater, I'm not a supercar mechanic. I'm literally self-taught. So everything you're seeing here, I've just learnt as I've gone, and it's just been born out of a passion for seeing these cars and wanting to see them back together and preserved for future generations. So certainly not an expert in any way, shape or form. So yeah, I'll bring you up to speed with what's happened this week, and I hope you enjoy. So following on from our last update, we're right in the middle of a heap of fabrication work on FTR3, and we had a message from one of our followers throughout the week who was an ex-fabricator for GSR or FTR. Now, he asked about what we were cutting out of the engine bay and what we were doing there, and obviously that includes the rad support and a few other bits and pieces. But he asked if the car still had its original numbers stamped into it. Now, obviously, the first thing I went to was this ID plate, which has stayed on the car because that bar is original, back to the rear shock tower. But he went on to say that there were stampings in the engine bay when the car was built, but there was no clear recollection as to where that was. So if we come back out into the workshop here, you'll see, if we lift the bonnet on the Super Cheap Auto Falcon, you can see on this car, it's engraved on the top of the shock point near the rear quarter panel, or the front quarter panel, I should say. And that says On Track Engineering, and it's AU, I think it's AU9 and then 11 and then 99. So I'm presuming On Track Engineering was BHAGs, and I'm presuming that's the 9th AU they built in the 11th month, 99, which makes sense because the car was hit the track for the first time, the first round in 2000. Now, if we go across to the Stone Brothers BA, that's the bonnet on this one, which I'll have to hold because the struts are no good. You can see there Stone's actually tacked on an ID plate on their car. So using that theory, and after speaking with this guy that gave us the information, we're thinking it's more along the lines of on top of the shock point. So we're thinking it's in this area here. Now keep in mind, this car has been painted several times. So it was originally white, then it was painted grey back in the GSR days. We believe it was painted again when it went to Tickford, and then the car was painted again in a darker grey when it was built into a ride car. So there's a heap of paint that's been on it. So if there are any stampings or engravings or anything on the car, they'll be under several layers of paint. Now, probably won't show up on camera, but if you have a look in this area here, there are indentations all over that, which would suggest something may have been put in there at some point. And there is a lot of scuffs and light scratching, which looks like it's under the paint. So where it's been blocked back, obviously some repairs here. So we're thinking this could be the area where they are. So I'm just going to start to take some of this paint off and we'll see what's under here. The reason we're doing it is we don't want to cut away or remove anything that's original to the car that carries this information. So we really need to know exactly where it is. Okay, so we've been at it for a while with the wet and dry, and you can see there we've gone through the layers of paint, and there's actually quite a few layers there. So the original FTR white's still there, there's different greys, and that's obviously your bare metal down there. So all the paint's there, so if there are any markings on the car, they're going to be filled up. And the disappointing part is there's no number there, so I'm not going to take off too much more than that. Obviously this is all going to be blasted and repainted anyway, but yeah, there's nothing there, so we'll keep looking and see what we can find. Okay, so obviously the first spot didn't yield a result, but we're just having a look here. We know, or we've been told, it's on top of the shock point somewhere. And if you have a look on the top of the shock point on the driver's side, it does suggest that there's a dent there or an indentation in the steelwork. Now, the only reason why I'm believing this may not be the spot is it's identical on both sides of the car. So you'd think if something was engraved or stamped in, it'd look different. It wouldn't be symmetrical left to right. So we'll start taking off a bit of paint in here and see what we can find. Now we know the original FTR white's under all these coats of paint. It's definitely going to be filled up. So we'll start knocking all this back and see what we can find. Okay, so we've had a bit of a breakthrough. I started to wet and dry the top of the shock points just to see what was underneath, right where those indentations were. And it uncovered some numbers and I got really excited. So I set up a time lapse to share it with you. And my basically I ran out of ability with the camera, didn't hit record, didn't get any of it at all. So under here is with the end result, which I'll share with you now, but there's something else that's come up which is really cool, which I didn't know existed, and I've only just found this out today. So if you have a look here, underneath that dent and underneath all those coats of paint, you can see FTR3. So it is obviously the original markings from when the car was built. You can see the grind marks. I'd say all that has been lineaged away when it was all built originally, because they're quite aggressive, but the FTR3 stamping is clear as day, even though it's still full of primer. Now there is a punch mark there, so I think there's been a repair done there at some stage, but it's really cool to see that it's still hiding away, and it's the first time it would have seen daylight for 25 or so years. Now the really exciting part is, I mentioned earlier in the video that the indentations in here were symmetrical left and right. So I thought, well, I'll start taking the paint off on the other side, and sure enough, if you have a look here, there's another set of numbers, which is GSR 11. So obviously the FTR Falcons were FTR 1, 2, 3 and 4, and all Glenn Seton's chassis prior to that were GSR and then the number. So they still maintain the GSR build numbers, but they also had them as FTR Falcons. So what's pretty cool, it's GSR 11, so it's the 11th car Glenn Seton Racing built, but it's the third of the FTR Falcons. So it actually carries two sets of numbers, which is pretty cool. And I believe this car is the very last that Glenn Seton built in-house, or Glenn Seton's team built in-house, with FTR4, the last chassis before he sold to ProDrive. It was a BHAG chassis similar to the Ellery car. So yeah, really excited to uncover that. It's been hiding away for a long time, and if you have a look over here, now I've cleaned this area up a bit better, you can see just why those numbers weren't visible. You've got bare metal, you've got the FTR white, which the car was built, painted as originally. Then you've got the light silver, which it went to later on in its racing life, and at Tickford, and then, or FPR I should say, and then you've got primer again, and then the colour it is today. So there's 5 or so coats of paint there, so it's absolutely no surprise that that wasn't legible. So we'll see what our options are to get this back to a point that we can see it when it's repainted. It's not overly deep, so we'll mask it off for now, preserve it, and when the car does get a fresh coat of white, we'll make sure that both numbers are legible. So now we know where all the historic markings are on the car, we can push on with the fabrication work in the engine bay. So obviously we don't want to lose any of this originality. Now we'll keep all some of where the repairs and that are done, it all tells a story, but we'll delete a lot of the holes that aren't required. So little upgrades and that were done to the car post Bathurst 2000, we'll delete them just to make it look a bit neater and tidier. There's some work that's got to be done around the cross member, because it's a later generation cross member that's in the car now, and the earlier generation utilised those chassis pickup points there, which we believe we may have found a cross member, which is exciting. And the radiator support panel is now a bolt-on, bolt-off unit. Now, as I said at the start of the video, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a welder, so go easy on me, but we've managed to get this all tidied up and make it as strong as it needs to be for the purpose. So you can see there, just got a body washer squared off and welded to the radiator support, repaired this whole section, and it's got a little bit extra thickness in there. So keep in mind, when you're driving the car at 200-300k an hour, the only thing that's keeping the bonnet shut are the bonnet pins, which mount to the radiator support. So you do have a lot of load on that section. So we've strengthened that up, and also I made up some captive nuts, which I've welded into the car frame itself, or the body itself. So that'll all be nice and strong. There's no nuts and bolts. It's a 2-second job to get it on and off, and hopefully once it's on there the first time, it'll stay there anyway. So yeah, we'll push on. The next step from there is we've got to weld up bonnet pins, the nuts for them, and just start blanking off some of these holes and get it back to how it used to be in the early 2000s. So that's about it for this week. So not a massive amount of progress, but there's been some pretty big breakthroughs all the same. So it's yeah, progress, and we're moving in the right direction. The next update, we'll have a bit more news on the plans for this week. Hoping by the end of the week there'll be more progress on FTR 3. The Super Cheap Auto Falcon, we're hoping to do a fire up on that very shortly, because it's getting very close to hitting the track. And also we're going to have a bit more of a look at the Ingle BA. There's an opportunity to maybe get the car back on track sooner than later, and we need to have a good look and I guess work out whether getting this car running again in a short time frame is going to be achievable. So we'll document all this journey as we go. We'll share it with you, and yeah, we'll keep you in the loop. So thanks again everyone for your support, and we'll look forward to having more for you soon. Thanks again.